Hello and greetings, fellow StarCrafters. PGO Minecraft here with game number 3 between the players EGPuma, the blue Terran, down here at the bottom of the corner. Bottom, well, whatever, not the corner. I suppose the bottom slightly oblique angle. And the red Terran player up here at the top, oGsNada. Now, we've seen two relatively quick games, actually, where basically I don't know, because both players were kind of planning harassment strategies, and the strategies didn't interact with each other at all. You know, the first one, it was like Hellion, Blue Flame Hellion poking, followed by a drop, which didn't interact with the Banshee that Nada sent. And then the second game, it was the All-In, which didn't interact with the Blue Flame Hellion drop plus Banshee that Nada sent. So, again, Nada with the Banshee both times, but very interesting game. Certainly not quite as long as I'm typically used to with the Terran versus Terran. So we're going to see if we're going to be seeing something just a little bit different. It is worth noting that actually Nada opted not to wall in this game. I'm not sure. I would guess most likely that is because he just sent his SCV out just a little bit too late. Or, nope, it looks like he's actually just planning not to wall in this game. So that's kind of interesting, actually. As walling in has kind of become more popular, because if a player goes for that kind of early Hellion harassment, which we actually saw from Puma in Game 1, then walling can actually be pretty useful in a Terran versus Terran. Generally speaking, you don't want to keep like a barracks on the wall. Sometimes you have to because of the way add-ons work, but like 3 supply depot walls are very common, and you can actually see Puma is in fact walling in with the barracks and the supply depot, and it's possible he'll move the barracks later or he'll just keep it there, depending on how the add-on situation ends up working that out. Neither player firstly opted for a gasless fast expand, or a 6 racks all-in, which are really funny as well, but, and neither player opted for an early gas either, so builds are mirroring each other so far, except for, actually we're going to be seeing a tech lab going on, so this is going to be a Reaper expand from Nada most likely, and the Reaper, that might be part of the reason why he did not opt to wall in. Actually, the Reaper's not going to be... Ooh. Why did he turn around with his SCV there? Did he think it was coming back? I'm very confused by that. Oh, maybe he wanted to make sure it was not doing some sort of proxy right there. Okay, so Puma just wanted to be a little safe. He wanted to make sure that there was not a proxy starport going down or something like that. That SCV was in fact just scouting. Now the Reaper is not going to be ready in time to be able to deny this scouting, so Puma should be able to identify this. He can see the tech lab, lack of a Marine, and actually a second gas going down for Nada. So it's going to be a Reaper build. It might be some sort of harassment-based Reaper build. Maybe we'll see multiple Reapers coming out. And actually, that SCV is doing a decent amount of damage. We also see a Reaper coming out. Look at that. Boom! Reaper's going to take him out. We also see Reaper coming out for Puma and a second Reaper for Nada. So this is definitely a harassment build. I've seen builds like this before. I've actually done one between him and Marine King Prime, where he got Reapers, Hellions, and Banshees and used them to amass a lot of kills. Well, where Marine King Prime did that. I'm not sure if he's going for that exact build. It's like the Uber harass build. It's like every harass unit that the Terran has that they use against them. If that's the case, Puma's definitely going to be well served by getting a bunker down, and could potentially, especially like right here, a bunker would just like do worlds to protect that harassment, because while it doesn't necessarily protect against the Reapers that are going around, it does protect against Hellions from being able to come up the ramp and bust through there. Looks like this is just going to be 2 Reapers for now. He does have a factory coming down, so it's possible he's just doing a couple of Reapers to do a little bit of harassment, and that's kind of going to be the focus of all of it. Reapers also take down buildings pretty well, so you might be able to bust down that wall. This Reaper, though, is going to get at least 1 free shot there. Both players have to be very careful with their micro. Reapers kill each other very, very quickly, as they only have 50 health, and they deal, what, like, how much damage do they do? 18 damage per shot, or per attack, I suppose. Blue Flame Hellions now coming out for Puma. Nada has spotted that, though. He did see the tech lab moving, so we could guess that it's either siege tanks or Hellions. And looks like Nada is just going to hang out here. He is stopping the SCVs from mining. That is a goal, an important victory, I suppose. And the supply depot did go down, so that's a good victory for him as well. We do have an additional Reaper and, in fact, the Hellion coming down as well. Is he expanding? Yes, he is expanding underneath this as well. So it's not going to be some sort of all-in harassment, and he's not going to opt for Banshees, at least not quite yet. He did, in fact, lose a Reaper to a little poke out, I think, while I was out focusing on something else. And he canceled the Blue Flame. Very smart from Puma. He wanted to show the Blue Flame to Nada, and then he canceled it so that Nada has to prepare for the Blue Flame, but he won't be able to actually, but it's actually just going to be an expansion. And it's not going to be Blue Flame Hellions, it's just going to be regular Hellions. So that was a very smart move on Puma's part. He could also just double up on regular Hellions, although not much point in faking Blue Flame if you're just going to get a bunch of regular Hellions, so not quite sure what he's planning there. Maybe he just wanted to use the gas for something else. Looks like he is going to opt for possibly Cloak. He does have enough gas to get Cloak and a Banshee. Nope, he's going to be opting for a Raven instead. So, very interesting. It looks like I think he feels like he's economically ahead of Nada, which is very well the case because his expansion center was considerably sooner than Nada's. What is that? There's a Banshee now coming down. Looks like the supply depot, I believe, is going to be able to spot that Banshee. The Banshee's going to slide on past it. Actually, that command center is in a bad spot because that Mule's moving farther than it needs to, and if it was just this command center, it would move up here. Looks like that Banshee was, in fact, scared away by all the Marines. So I think Puma's going to try to scare it away, try to save that supply depot. I'm actually not quite sure. I see a lot of Terran players putting supply depots right on the edge there. I think if you put them like one square back, so it's just like a little bit farther away from the edge, it's a lot easier to protect with your Marines. Because Banshees do have one range farther than Marines. Meanwhile, Nada's Blue Flame is now just finishing. It looks like he will be meching this game, so it should be very interesting there. He does have a reactor and a tech lab barracks. Meanwhile, this Banshee was in fact able to pick off that supply depot. Very nice job on his part there. A scan is coming down. Let's go ahead and take a look at how much that scan reveals. It sees the siege tank, the tech lab, and the 2 factories. Does it see both factories in the reactor? Yep. So he, in fact, knows exactly what Nada is up to. He knows that Nada is meching. He knows that Nada is going for either blue flames or siege tanks. Siege mode, rather. And, in this particular case, Nada is actually going for both. Nada is going to move that expansion out. Puma actually still hasn't moved that expansion out, interestingly enough. Not quite sure what he's waiting for there. It looks like that SCV is going to move forward. See the blue flame. Very nice job on Puma's part. Where is... Okay, so we have 4 Hellions moving across the middle. Raven is now spawned as well as a couple of Vikings. I think he might be afraid of this little push out right here, which is why he's trying to move back. These blue flame Hellions are quite deadly against other Hellions, especially since they are not upgraded, and Blue Flame is not even on the way. He also only has a solitary siege tank to really deal with these Hellions, so I think that's why he's a little timid to move out at this point, because he feels like he needs to be able to hold the ramp, and he can't do that. So actually, it looks like Nada's probably taking a bit of an economic lead. You can see that his supply is now up by 15, which is a pretty large difference at this point in the game, considering that the supply is 65 to 80. And on top of that, there are a couple of Vikings here, and I believe only 1 Banshee for Nada. Oh, and a couple of Vikings, actually. Never mind. So they both players have a couple of Vikings, and there's the Banshee for Nada. So actually, potentially Nada could deal a lot of damage with that Banshee if he attacked, depending on how control works out. You can see that Puma did see that his opponent is not going for any sort of 1-base timing bush, or actually he probably knows his opponent expanded, didn't he? Yeah, he did see the expansion. So he knows his opponent isn't aiming for any sort of super quick timing. And nice placement of his barracks right here, so that's why he moved his command center out. But this barracks right here is able to spot any drops coming in, any Banshees coming in from that angle. Very nice job on his part. I'm not sure why he's moving it now. Probably to go scout something else, maybe to check for another expansion or something like that. Thor is now coming out for Nada as well as an additional factory. Both players will be meching this game, so fairly standard Terran versus Terran. There are a lot of Marines here, which should actually be useful against Banshees. If you ever lose the Viking War, you do need Marines to be able to hold out against Banshees. Their short range does hurt them just a little bit in that regard. They're also actually useful for occupying bunkers, as they are the only unit that can do that. Well, Marauders can do it too, but he doesn't have any Marauders, obviously. Nice scan is going to reveal, I think it actually did see that drop as well. So very nice scan from Nada. It was actually almost perfectly timed to be able to spot that drop coming in. And actually, oh wow, see look at this. He's going to move the Vikings out here to be able to pick off the drop. The Banshee is coming with them as well. Wait, where's the drop? Okay, drop is... Alright, well we're going to take a look here. That SCV is going to be taken out right there. This drop, is it going to be taken out? Is it going to be taken out? Oh, he's walking into Zeus Doom. Goodbye, drop. He did manage to get 1 Hellion out. That Hellion will be taken out by the Banshee. I'm not sure if that was intentional, but Nada has all of his air units on 1 hotkey, so the Banshee will be able to take off that Hellion that was dropped out as soon as he saw his opponents. This barracks is now scouting down here to see if there is a 3rd base. And it looks like the forces are going to meet each other in the middle. Nada sieges up immediately. There probably was a little premature, as he does have considerably more Hellions than his opponent. He is now up by 30 supply. This is a very commanding lead. I think this is just the macroeconomics of Nada kicking in right now. You can see both players getting vehicle weapons level 1, and a pair of Thors actually coming out. And this is going to be a very nice push here. This is going to be able to put a lot of pressure on Puma, and he's going to have a very hard time dealing with this here, as he does have a Thor. Nada does have a Thor to be able to shoot any air units that come around, so even if he wins the air war, it's not going to be able to do him much good. He also doesn't have a Banshee to really take advantage of that. Looks like he's actually just going to back out, I think. Not quite sure exactly. I think he just wants to be a little bit safe. I think he recognizes the lead that he's in right now. He dealt a little bit of damage, killed the add-on there. I'm not sure why he didn't stick with the factory and ended up trying to kill it. Looks like Puma will be trying to take a third expansion at the exact same time as Nada's going to be able to secure the gold, however. And part of the thing about mech, which is less the case if both players are meching, but it's really difficult to move out. It's such a positional game that you really need to be in the best position at all times. And, for example, I don't think there's any way that Puma will be able to break this right now. Like, look at that. There's, what is that, 6 siege tanks, and, oh my god, how many Hellions is that? Woof! That is a lot of Hellions. Those amount of Hellions could, like, one-shot a command center. Well, not actually, but pretty close. Looks like that barracks is actually going to land underneath the command center and stop it. Those Vikings will have to land there. These Hellions are actually now attacking the rocks, and even though they're Hellions, they're actually dealing a decent amount of damage to rocks. In real life, that rock would just kind of like start on fire from the flame chemicals that the Hellions have, and not actually die like it does in this game. Looks like a little counterattack from Puma, nice skating around the watchtower there, is going to be able to slide into Nada's base. There are a number of siege tanks which should be able to deal with them quite nicely. And yes, all of them go down, so nice defense from Nada there. He is actually able to break these rocks with just Hellions. However, this is a lot of Hellions. So he has 20 Hellions here. In addition, he has 6 Hellions at home. And those SCVs picked the wrong time to transfer. Well, that supply lead is now down to 50. And look at that. Look at how fast he takes down a command center with Hellions. That's ridiculous. A bunch of Vikings are going to move up here. He has asked to cancel the orbital and actually just lift the command center to be able to save it from Hellions, which is just a humorous thought in general. And Puma is way behind here. He's going to have to look for ways to be able to come back. Nada being very smart, though. He's got a very nice hold right here in the middle. He has nice vision from the watchtowers, actually. It's almost perfectly lined up with the tank's vision so that you can't ever shoot at a tank with a siege tank where Nada would not have vision. Actually, he could do that just barely. But I believe Nada has air control as well, doesn't he? No, Puma does have air control, so Puma could potentially do that, although there is a Thor here, so that could complicate things just a little bit. This barracks is actually stopping Nada. He's doing the same trick. Puma's doing the same trick that Nada was for him. Unfortunately, he doesn't have 20 Hellions to be able to do that. He is moving in now, however. That is a lot of Hellions from Nada, absorbing a lot of the tank fire, and his tanks are sieging up almost perfectly, like right inside of the range of the enemy's siege tanks. Those Thors are able to absorb a lot of damage for Puma right there, but look at all those siege tanks melt to the massive amount of siege tank fire. I don't think that was quite as cost effective as it could have been. However, as I said, attacking the siege tanks is always difficult. And look at the supply differences right now. Nada is now ahead by 53. He has, I'm sure, a lot more SCVs. 13 more SCVs for Nada. He is now sieging that factory. He's going to be able to take it out before it's able to lift off. And I'm not quite sure why Puma's still in this game. He has gotten his second Manor Mule right there. Actually, that Manor Mule took a siege tank shot, I think. And now there comes the GG, rather, from Puma. And very nice game, actually. It was kind of a interesting go-between. And Nada, I mean, it's hard to pinpoint exactly where he took the lead. I think I think a lot of it was just better macro, and I think his build just kind of transitioned better into what exactly he was going for. And I'm not sure if he killed more workers or not early on in the game. But anyway, it was a very nice game from both players, and yeah, I really looked forward to seeing that. That was kind of a nice mech play. Puma was a little bit far behind fairly early in this game, so he had a little bit of catch up to do, and it's very difficult to catch up against a player of Nada's caliber. So he didn't end up winning this one. I will say the gold base definitely contributed to a lot of the supply deficit, as you could see that Nada had just so many Hellions. A lot of that was the extra mineral intake, so that was part of it. I think his expansion was out considerably sooner as well, so that was part of it as well. And, you know, that makes a really big difference when you move your command center out that soon. And not just in terms of gas, which certainly helped as well, because the gas helps you get additional factories. Look at how many factories he has. 6 factories. That's like StarCraft 1 style. And, like, you know, you can just pump out... I mean, mech units are slow, but look at that. He's building 2 Hellions and 5 siege tanks at once. It's just absurd. That's like 20 supply at a time. Oh, very good game from these players. Moving on to game number 4. This is PGM Minecraft signing off.